I'm Bob Ward. I'm the Deputy Director of the Rockefeller Institute, and on behalf of Tom Gaze, our Acting Director, and everyone here at the Institute, we welcome you, and thank you for coming. I'm just going to say welcome and one or two other things, and then turn it over to Ken Howey, who will moderate and introduce our speakers this morning. We hold these forums on a regular basis here at the Institute, and on many topics: education, healthcare, state fiscal issues, and constitutional issues, and others. But certainly education is one of our continuing interests, and we were very pleased here at the Institute last year when Ken Howey joined us as a Senior Fellow. Dr. Kenneth Howey has had a distinguished career as a scholar and leader in the field of education, particularly in endeavors designed to improve the preparation of teachers. He has written and edited several books addressing issues in teacher and school renewal, and has been very active in a number of initiatives nationally in those areas. So we are very pleased to have him here. Ken, as I said, will introduce our speakers. Just a couple of logistical items. It's a little warm in here. We apologize. I'm told that the air conditioning is coming on. If that doesn't seem to work, we can open the windows. And we hope to have some time for questions and answers at the end of the presentations from our guests. And if you wish to ask a question at that time, we will ask you to speak into a microphone and identify yourself. And with that, I will turn things over to Ken Howey. I'm not sure. Is this on?
No, you have to click
I keep trying, but I don't seem to be able to do it, so. Somebody. Little button. I was asked to share a few brief remarks myself in terms of things that I'm doing which reflect the Institute's interest in the preparation of teachers in ed reform, and I'm going to take about 10 minutes to do that and then introduce our speakers. And the batting order following me will be John and then Doug. So it's my great privilege really to introduce both of you guys and be on this with you. They will both talk for about 20 minutes, and that'll be followed by a Q&A, and I'll try and moderate that and make sure that all of you get a chance to react to those comments and raise further questions. I, in my brief remarks, would like to talk about three endeavors that I'm engaged in currently. And the first of these is called the Educational Partnership and Implementation Network. And it's an effort to really fix the leaky educational pipeline. This work started in Milwaukee and Cincinnati, and it involved all the stakeholders in education, including the chamber, the mayor, the faith community, the CEOs of the Fortune 500 companies, the presidents of universities, and the Urban League, anyone you can name that could deliver resources to improving that pipeline. The pipeline had 5 major goals: prepared for school, supported in and out of school. Out of school is especially important, succeeding academically, enrolling in a post-secondary and career training, and then graduating and entering a career. Each year, public report card is put out that traces how well we're doing on each of those 5 goals. The work that started in Cincinnati and Milwaukee has now expanded to include 10 such partnerships, and we'll add 5 more next year. We're supported from a number of philanthropic sources, including Living Cities and CEOs for Cities. What I particularly like about this is that there is no real system of education in this country that starts with preschool and goes seamlessly to post-secondary. In fact, in most of the states where I've worked, the chasm between P-12 and higher education is deep and often reflects very real and sustained antipathy. It has not been an easy business. So in these major urban areas right now, no one is pointing fingers. The mantra is it's our collective responsibility and our collective accountability. We have a differentiated responsibility. We're going to put in a new and different kind of educational infrastructure. You can order this and other publications for Strive on the report card. Their transparency. The website is Strive Together, all one word, .org. And what I would add to that is that the implementation network is part of a larger network of urban serving universities, about 50 in number, of which Chancellor Zimfer is the president. She's working closely with the public urban land grant institutions to try to get a new Renaissance Act, a new land grant, 21st century land grant. She and other presidents have identified champions in Congress, and I think that is Collins and Porras say, a big, hairy, audacious goal that we might have an urban land grant. This is where most of our population lives today. I think that within the next 2 or 3 years, the chances are very good that we'll have new funding streams for urban universities that are taking the lead in community engagement in terms of health sciences, community development, and fixing a broken educational pipeline. The second endeavor I'd like to refer to has been initiated by the National Council for the Accreditation of Teacher Education under new leadership with Jim Sabolka and Marcia Levine. I've been fortunate to serve as a consultant to them. They brought together, or are bringing together, an outstanding group of teachers, scholars, educational leaders from all sectors together in a blue ribbon panel to take a look at what clinically rich teacher preparation programs could look like. I consider they're right on the money with this. From my perspective, after looking at the clinical aspects of teacher preparation for a good number of years, it's largely an embarrassment. Vast wasteland might describe it. There are no clear criteria for the selection of people who might be called clinicians. There's no preparation for them. There's an embarrassing amount of compensation for them. The triadic people who should be involved in preparing and sustaining this are not working together. Any kind of partnership in this regard is terribly fragile, so that the finger pointing comes back to higher education as if they would be the sole person responsible for good clinical preparation. The panel has done a good job of addressing policy issues in that regard, and they're putting forward a vision of clinically rich teacher preparation, building on the good work that Carnegie put forward in its Teachers for a New Era. I am putting forward a vision of what a coherent clinical structure would look like. And I will tell you now, it's not a capstone clinical experience or something called an urban residency. It begins early on. It's attached to academic preparation. When we started working with these cradle to career partnerships at Milwaukee 10 years ago, we decided that we needed a new general studies or liberal studies requirement for an urban university. And we worked with urban geographers, urban economists, urban sociologists, and cultural anthropologists, and attached a clinical component to each one of those courses so that we had given our teaching force a mostly white, monolingual, relatively parochial prospective teacher, that if we got them involved in communities in a whole variety of ways early on, that they would have a deeper knowledge and greater sensitivity to the pluralism that exists in this country. I'm a strong advocate of Elizabeth Shore's adage that you cannot understand a youngster outside of their family, and you can't understand a family or a caretaker outside the context of their neighborhood. So we have cultural anthropologists going into urban central city schools and doing asset mapping, which is a very rigorous process of identifying ways in which we can capitalize and underutilize resources to help children not only in school but out of school, not only in terms of education but health, welfare, housing, and transportation. So there are 2 reports coming out. In the first one, Chancellor Zimfer and I have, after 10 years, identified a dozen attributes that we think enable policies, practices, and conditions that enable systemic partnerships. In many regards, it's a heuristic. I don't want to overstate its empirical basis, but I think that's very important work, and how you put together and scaffold and sustain these partnerships is very important. That paper will be ready after one more editing. Anything I write has to be edited at least 3 times, but it should be ready within a couple of weeks. The vision paper for Educate is finished. I need to vet that through the Blue Ribbon Commission, but I would be happy to share that as well for those of you who would like copies of both of those papers. I'll be here after the session. I'll take your card, and I'll make sure you get copies. The third reform initiative that I've been involved in and remain involved in is with my good friend and colleague, Monica Martinez, who heads up the New Tech network nationally. New Tech is a very interesting school. All youngsters use laptops. Textbooks are virtually non-existent. Everything is project-based. The projects are negotiated with corporate and business and civic sectors. They demand problem solving within the confines of the school and often outside the confines of the school. All kids work in structured cooperative learning teams. The thing that I'm most impressed with are the metrics for how well these kids are doing. All of the projects are cross-hatched against local and state standards, but in addition to this, these youngsters are assessed in terms of their use of technology, their ability to work in a group, their leadership, their ability to innovate, their ability to take initiative, and their civic responsibility. And to me, when I, over a half a century ago, engaged in my teacher preparation at the University of Wisconsin-Madison, I learned the project method. And I want to end there by saying that I'm saddened in today's environment generally, and including its educational environment, that we are so hyper-polarized, that the language is so strident, that it's toxic at times. We don't seem to be able to work well together. And I have great faith that the young people coming out of the new tech high schools, using case-based and project-based instruction, which I taught myself, know how to do several things. They know how to draw on multiple perspectives. They know how to suspend judgment. They know how to enjoin those perspectives. They understand that diversity is value added, and it's a powerful form of learning. And I think hopefully that generation will be a bit less strident and a bit more encompassing in terms of the dialogue that I think that we need in a country that is a democracy, but one that remains highly stratified. And I think the new tech schools also point a little bit the way of what schools might be in our democratic society. So those are 3 endeavors, and I appreciate the time to be able to share those on behalf of Rockefeller with you. Now to our agenda, I'm going to start with John. First, who's been like me here for a little less than a year. He's the Senior Deputy Commissioner for P-12 Education in the state. When John was hired by Chancellor Tisch, she said that he is a nationally recognized educational leader with a proven track record of lifting student achievement, and particularly for low-income minority students in urban settings. I can't stress enough how important that is, John. Paul Loeb, in his beautiful little book, Soul of a Citizen, points out that in our lowest quintile, social economic quintile, 4% of youngsters graduate from college. You know, it's a travesty. 4% in the lowest quintile make it all the way through college. So John's focus in that regard is commendable. He's co-founder and co-director of the Roxbury Preparatory Charter School in Boston. Roxbury Prep students obtained the highest state exam score of any urban middle school in Massachusetts. They closed the racial achievement gap, and they outperformed students from not only the Boston district schools, but the city's more affluent suburbs. In his current role, prior to this, is managing director of Uncommon Schools. He achieved similar success with students from low income. John's a former high school teacher. He graduated magna cum laude from Harvard College. He holds his degree from Yale Law School and an MA and an EDD from Teachers College, Columbia. And he will share with us the leadership that he's exerted and what I'm sure has been an arduous schedule since his arrival in New York.